start this collective reading. What is the message for anyone who is going to come across this stream, who will feel called? What is the message? What do they need to hear? And anyone who's going to watch the VOD, whether on YouTube, let's grab 3 cards for now. So let me just start off by telling you what cards we have so that I can, because I'm like kind of, so I'll just start one by one. First of all, actually, the overall energy is this card, which is hope. It's hope in reverse. Aww. So I feel like y'all who are feeling called to tune in to this reading are feeling a little bit kind of, I wouldn't say that you're feeling like hopeless or anything, but you're trying to search for hope out there. You're just kind of like trying to look out into the stars, just like the image of this. Actually, let me show you what it looks like when it's upright. You know, some of you are just kind of like just looking out and like just like kind of hoping that something like a star is going to just, you know, fly through and like give you some kind of hope. I feel like you're not in that kind of like really dark place, but you really want to you're trying to find hope. You're trying to look out into the world for some kind of sign. I guess that's the overall energy. I think a lot of you are actually feeling a little bit jealous, a little bit betrayed by your friends, because we have a 7 of Swords here and followed by the 3 of Cups in reverse, and then we have the Emperor in reverse. So most of the cards here are in reverse. Just because of this positioning of the card, like the 7 of Swords, the person on the 7 of Swords is just kind of like looking back. They're like, you know, grabbing all these swords and looking back into like this group of people. So I feel like you're kind of feeling a little bit left out. You're feeling like you're not being included maybe in your group of friends, or it doesn't necessarily have to be friends. Maybe you're just kind of like looking at people on social media and you're feeling like everyone's like having fun and like raising their glasses and like, you know, just like celebrating, having fun, laughing, doing all these like fun things. Maybe you're looking at people like now going out a little bit more, even though there's a new variant, but we'll not get into that. You know, like you're just kind of like looking at other people just like celebrating and stuff, and you just feel like, well, I kind of want to be in that fucking group. I want to be included in that activity. That sounds really nerdy, but I guess. Okay, my ear is very itchy. With the Emperor in reverse, you're just feeling like you're not in your element, you know? You're feeling like kind of unworthy. You're feeling like just kind of a little bit powerless. And I do want to say, because when a card comes out in reverse, it doesn't actually mean that, you know, like the absence of that energy, or like, oh, this is the complete opposite. You know, a lot of people say that, right? When a card comes out in reverse, it means like, oh, it's the exact opposite meaning of it. But I feel like you know, this Emperor, this energy is inside of you. You do actually have power. You're just like really struggling to see it right now, you know, with the Hope in reverse as well. You're just kind of like really blinded by this kind of like feeling of unworthiness. I feel like when you get into the energy of the Seven of Swords, it's kind of like, you know, you're just taking things that aren't really yours. And it's just kind of like a lack mindset, you know? I know this is not like the most... It's not very comforting to hear, that's for sure. It's not very... This can be a little bit harsh, but this is what I'm seeing with the cards. Like, you know, you might be operating from this like kind of lack mindset. I feel like people tuning into this who are resonating with this reading so far, you are just kind of like in survival mode with literally survival, the card of survival from the Ask Your Guides. I always feel like when you're in survival mode, you're like very hyper vigilant, you know, you're just kind of like looking like really on high alert as well. And again, it's just feeling you just can't really see the hope. It's very, very foggy. I feel like when you're just like looking at your life, it's just very foggy. You can't really see. You can't really see. If you're just like reaching out, you can't even really see what your hand is going to touch. Like that's how thick the fog is right now for you. And you're like looking out to other people and like you're thinking like, why can't I have that? Or like, why do they have that thing and I don't have that thing? It's kind of weird because you do feel like, oh, but I deserve that, you know, and they don't. The fog is very, very thick and you can't really see things as it is right now. You're very much, I think what you kind of really need to know is that you are operating in this kind of like programming, if you will, or like you have these pair of glasses on that kind of makes everything foggy, and like this is kind of affecting how you see reality when that's not really what the reality is. And I feel like why you are actually feeling this way is because you are going through, if not you will be going through, an awakening. This is why, because like I feel like people who are going through an awakening or like about to go through an awakening or whatever that is, before you have that moment of like awakening, of like realization of like, oh shit, you know, like when you, I can't snap my fingers, when you have that like, shit, I'm awake, you know, like before you have that moment, there's always this like really foggy, really like you don't know what's happening, you don't know what is the truth anymore, like everything that you've always known has all of a sudden just like, what the fuck? I'm like, you know, there's always that really confusing, really like, you're always going to go through that kind of moment. And like, I feel like this is supposedly, I guess the comforting message here that I can give you right now is that this is just a phase, you know? This is a necessary phase that people usually go through when they are experiencing this kind of awakening. It's kind of like really normal for you to be this like really confused, really just kind of like really skeptical as well. I feel like I say that with the Seven of Swords here. And like feeling like you're losing your power. Even though, again, that's not really what the reality is. You will get there. This fog is going to subside. It's going to diffuse and dissipate. as you go through your journey, you just kind of like have to, I feel like you just kind of have to trust and like just keep going and trust that you will get there. Like, this is divinely orchestrated, like this is happening for you, not to you. Again, I feel like with, you know, when you're in that Seven of Swords mindset, you kind of like think that, oh, things are like, oh, why is this happening to me? Which, like, again, I'm saying I can totally relate to that. Okay, like I used to be in that place as well. I definitely used to be in that place of like feeling like a victim of my life and like things just happening to me and like just looking out to the world and feeling like everything's unfair. But you are really moving into this whole new version of yourself, which is actually the most purest version of yourself, I feel like, with the awakening card here. You are stepping into a new way of being. It literally says so in here. And like going through energetic upgrades. And it's weird. Again, you just kind of have to trust it. These like really confusing times will always happen when you go through an awakening, because you are suddenly, you're kind of like all of a sudden, you're seeing the truth, you know? You're seeing the truth. And it's kind of like you're in the it's kind of like you're in the Matrix type thing, right? You are the only one. Well, you're not the only one, but you know, it feels like you are the only one who's like kind of like, you know, realizing things and realizing that everything is kind of like an illusion, even though it's not. But, you know, it kind of feels that way. But that's where you're heading to. You're heading to an awakening. And just, I guess, do your best to kind of tend to your basic needs as well. I feel like with survival, do a lot of grounding as well. When you're in survival mode, your nervous system is very much in high alert, right? As I already said. So incorporate those things, you know, in your life right now to soothe your nervous system. One of the easiest ways I feel like that's coming to mind that you could do to soothe your nervous system is to kind of, when you wake up or right before bed, right before you go to sleep, or both, would be great if you do it both times. I already mentioned this at some point in the stream, but I'll mention it again. So say you wake up and I just like put my hand on my my chest. Not always, but sometimes it helps to really feel your breath. Like, take a deep breath and really like slow down that exhale. And as you inhale, imagine like a white light in your chest lighting up as you inhale. And say to yourself, I am safe. And I am at peace right in this moment. I feel so zen after that. So zen. But, you know, it's like one of the ways that you can kind of like tell your body that everything is okay. That there's no need for your body to be like on high alert trying to search for, you know, the next thing and like what's gonna be, you know, because that's usually the case when your body is in survival mode. It just needs a reminder, because when you take deep breaths, especially when you slow down your exhales, when you have really slow exhales, it calms down. It calms down your body, it calms down your heart, calms down your nervous system. Because when you're like, you know, just think about when you're running, like you can't have like really slow exhales, right?